Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. I hope you're all having an amazing day. We're starting off, we have the black pieces against an 1812 from Singapore. Couldn't remember what that flag was. I don't think I've ever properly seen the Singaporean flag. But anyway, we have an E4. Let us go E5. I don't think we've had a proper Italian game in a while, so you know what? Now's a better time than ever. Knight F3, Knight F6, Knight C6, sorry. I always get the letters confused. And we actually do get an Italian game as well, which is brilliant. You know, we do the two knights defense. It's the most fun against the Italian. Unless you do like I think there's a few counter gambits you can do against a fried liver. But anyway. They castle here, which is strange. I don't see why we can't play D5 straight away. That's the general idea. In playing the Italian game as white, you want to get D5 straight away. So I guess we just go for that. Castles is a weird move. I don't think I've ever seen that before. We have to be a bit wary of the pawn. But that's not a big issue. Probably not E6. Rook E1's coming. I don't want to have to play F6. They go for a D4. That's really interesting. This is interesting. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. I'm completely lost. Maybe even like a bishop knight B5, hitting the bishop. It is interesting. It's interesting. Knight B5. Bishop back. I don't really want to have to take the pawn. We could take the pawn. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. We go bishop E6 after the check. Probably knight takes, knight takes. Queen takes. Bishop E6. Rook E1. C6. And it seems okay enough to me. Knight C3. At that point, probably like a bishop E7. Just to unpin this bishop. Just castle. Sure. Let's go for it. I don't think it's particularly bad. They are a bit active. I'll give them that. They're a bit active. But also, you know, they're showing their intentions pretty clearly. And we are used to these open positions, so I think it's worthwhile. To be honest, I think it's worthwhile. They go, really? Come on, surely not. Well then. So what? They've just gambited a pawn. They've gambited a pawn in a very, very weird way. I'm guessing they're looking for a queen E3. Queen E3. Bishop takes castles. No, because bishop takes. We go down a pawn, but we're already up a pawn. This is so weird. What about maybe even a bishop E5, but then rook E1's coming. That gets annoying very quickly. F6 loses, I think, to probably queen G5. Yeah, this is strange. This is very strange. I'm not going to lie to you all. I feel like bishop E7 is the way to go. Queen G3. It's probably going to have to be takes, castles. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Bishop D7. They probably want a rook E1 at some point. Rook E1 straight away, we just castle. And then we're chilling. We go knight B6 or something. And kick out this bishop. Yeah, let's go bishop e7. This is super, super strange. It's a weird, almost like a Scotch gambit, I guess. We are up a pawn, and it's a very solid central pawn. They're going to have to work to get that back. I don't think they have necessarily the activity to show for it. They had the activity anyway, and they've just sort of gambited a pawn for no reason. It's not, the computer's not saying it's a gambit. Chess.com, it says the little opening name at the side. It's not saying it's anything. So, I mean, I don't think this is based on any sort of reason. It's just a gambit for the sake of a gambit, which necessarily isn't a bad thing, Being down a pawn isn't the end of the world. A lot of people choose to go down pawns for various reasons, but you do sort of still have to have some sort of reason to do it, otherwise you are just down a pawn. And oftentimes a pawn is enough to win an endgame. Not all the time. I'd say maybe even 50% of the time, to be honest. It could go that far. But still, it's nice for us, I think, unless we get completely overwhelmed here. It's okay for us. Queen g5, g6, I think. Knight takes doesn't work, I don't think. Yeah, we do bishop takes, and that covers the rook. They are disconnected, which is brilliant. Good stuff. Great start. We can only see. Oh, they're back. They're back. Who knows? I think Queen g5 is probably a good chance for them. In fact, do they win the knight back at the end of it? But they go for this line. And here we just castle, right? Just castle. There's no Queen g5. h6. Knight goes back. Bishop b6. Cover the knight. So we just castle here, I think. I don't think we're in any sort of danger. We could even go knight f6, and then it's blocking the queen from attacking the f7 pawn, which can only be good. The knight's still hanging. We could even just go knight f6 straight away here. Or could we actually? No, because they are hitting this, so we need to go h6. Yeah, we are forced to go h6 here, I think. Knight f6, bishop takes f7, rook takes, queen takes is almost disastrous, really. So we'll go h6. H6 knight takes is a thing. Actually, is that nasty? Because you've got the discovered attack there. In fact, that's actually a bit annoying. A fair bit annoying. What about like even a bishop f5? Knight takes, then rook takes, and the rook's covering the bishop. Bishop drops back. Wow. h6, knight takes f7. This is something. This is something. What about just bishop takes knight f6? Bishop takes knight f6. Seems okay. Bishop takes knight f6. Probably something like a... Oh, gosh. Bishop takes, knight f6. Something like queen. You can't even move back there because the bishop's holding. We drop this knight back. The knight's going back to f6, I just said. Yeah, we're losing the bishop pair, which is a thing. Their connection's still bad. They might just disconnect. We will see. Other than that, we're risking f7 stuff, which isn't ideal. Simply because this knight is still hanging, which isn't good. So we would actually be going back to being a pawn, but it's super sketchy with the bishop coming in over here. So maybe just bishop takes is the way to go. And drop the knight back. Then we develop as quickly as we can. As quickly as possible. They might play something like c3 here is a possibility. These pawns might end up being doubled, but again, we are still up a pawn. So knight a5 is probably the way to go here. Knight a5, bishop comes back. H6 is even an idea. There is potential for bishop takes h6, g takes h6, queen g5. With some bishop d3 idea is a bit sketchy. So we don't want to jump into that too fast. Maybe just like a bishop f5 could work, stopping the bishop going to d3. I'm fine trading the knight off, to be honest, with double pawns. It's not the end of the world at all, especially we get rid of their bishop pair. And bishop to f5 as well is hitting this pawn. So we're just trying to stay calm. We're not committing any weaknesses at the minute. We're not making any weaknesses. All the extra pawns still defended. We've got our pieces out. Now we can play h6 because the bishop's stopping bishop d3. We may give up a pawn, but we are... They would be a sacrifice for them. It would be a sacrifice. And bishop coming to g5 blocks any sort of pins or anything the queen can do. Not that there are any immediate ones, but still. And I think this is solid. I think we've survived the initial onslaught, and very soon they'll be running out of pieces to make a viable attack with, especially after h6 now. I think we're in a nice position. Yeah, and they're sort of forced to make concessions, really. That's knight a3 is not what they want to be doing. They want the knight on c3, which is why c3 is a popular idea in these sorts of gambits, to get the knight out quickly and join in on the attack wherever possible. The knight's coming to b5. That's its only square it can go to. I'm not worried about that. Even if it gets there, a3, where's it going after that? Sure, you're hitting this pawn, but it's got two defenders on it. You might want to get a rook in the game. But if we trade off, get the queens off the board, we get a rook in. You know, I think we're pretty solid here. So I think h6 is probably the way to go. And then takes knight, queen takes. Get a rook on d8. And play on from there. So I think h6 now is the way to go. And if they wanted to play c3 at some point, they could have just done that straight away, you know. And then you're actually kicking my queen about. You're actually kicking my queen about once the rook comes in. And actually, that's a lot of pressure very quickly. So I don't know if I would even push d3, to be honest. And then play a h6 and try trade off some of the pressure against my kingside. And they have to make a very important decision here. They have to make an extremely important decision. Exactly. They had to trade off. They had to sacrifice. Going back, I think, is a huge waste of time for them. Where's this bishop going now? Not many places it can go, really. Not many places it can go. Let's just try to remain calm. and focus on making good decisions. G5 is a decision, potentially, followed by a knight e4. Potentially even winning the bishop, actually. That's interesting. Where can the queen go? Queen is forced to go to... No, queen can take the pawn. Queen takes pawn. Is nasty. Okay, fairs. We could offer up some trades. We can offer up some trades. Keep control of the d-pawn. The bishop would be forced to go back, and we would win the queen. Probably they would probably trade off queens. Rook comes in, and we're defending this pawn again. We would need to move the knight somehow, and get c5 played if possible, just to cover this one more time. a6 would be great. So I think knight e4 is actually the way to go here. Because we're hitting the queen, there's nothing fancy they can do. And we're hitting the free bishop, so it's almost a forced trade here. That being said, rook takes is an interesting option. Bishop takes, queen takes, followed by a swift bishop d3 is extremely nasty. Extremely nasty. So, that's interesting. What about knight g4 then? Still looking to trade off the queen. Queen goes to g3. Queen could potentially go to h3, I guess. So yeah, that's something. Rook e8 is a possibility. Bishop goes to e2. What about like a knight g6? c5? Got control over... That could work. Knight g6, rook d1, trying to hit our queen and our pawn. Go c5. Oh, in fact, knight g6, bishop c4 is really annoying. And then you're struggling to play a6. And the knight would be threatening to be won there. Unless you do some maneuvers like that, which is interesting. And we're running low on time here. We're running quite low on time. We need to make decisions. Probably rook e1. e8, sorry. Rook e8, I think, is the way to go. The bishop drops back if the queen tries anything funny. Not that it can go to h5 anyway. But the f7 square is not particularly a worry right now. And then when we can, we bring the queen up to probably d7. Get the rook on d8. I don't think we're going to get time to play c5, unfortunately. It would be a very solid move, but to be honest, I quite like the knight where it is. It doesn't want to be moving very far. And with the rook on e8, we do have actually this rook e4 idea, because we've added another defender onto the square, which is always a good thing. We're threatening to trade off, yeah, and they go for that. We could actually trade off more pieces here with knight takes, but I think queen takes is probably the safer option. Probably the safer option, right? The more simple anyway. It might not be safer. It's more simple. And then we go up, probably up to d7. Whoa. Whoa. So they're sacking, looking for the knight. Could they do that all along? Oh, not with the queen. Nah, the queen needed to be on d8. Cover the knight. Okay. Fairs. Okay. Well, actually, is queen e2? No, queen e2. The bishop's covered. It's rather annoying, is that? Knight g4. The bishop's under attack. Which is a thing, I guess. What about like a knight e5? Hitting the light squared bishop, counter attack him. And then threatening knight g6, which is interesting. I think that's probably our best plan. If they go rook e1, we have knight f3, which wins. The check, queen's hitting the rook, knight's hitting the queen, bishop's still hanging. So those are our game plans, I think. And if they decide to take the pawn, then free piece. Well, not a free piece, but you get what I'm saying. It's a freer piece. The bishop goes back, we win the free bishop. That's the whole idea. So it's an interesting move in 95. We're definitely not taking the bishop. That's a death sentence. Especially with the queen still on the board. It's not pleasant. Although we probably could survive it. Just with like a bishop g6. We could survive it, potentially. And if we could, we would be winning. But it's not something that looks particularly appetizing to me. The pawn storm's coming in very fast. The rook's kicking my queen about. It's just not ideal. So I think this little intermezzo move is super interesting. Because knight g5, knight g6, sorry, and the queen's going to actually struggle to cover this knight. It needs to stay on one of these two squares. It can't stay on the file. And then knight f4, it can't stay on those anymore either. The problem is the bishop would be hanging. The problem is the bishop would be hanging. Oops. Knight there. The bishop is hanging. We take this pawn, maybe? That's interesting. Queen g5, pawn takes. Oh, so they go there. Ooh. That's interesting. Surely knight g6 here wins a piece. Where's the queen going? Can't go there, 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 or there. Can't go there. Or there, or there. Queen's forced to go to g3. At which point, knight e4. And the queen is getting forked, although, oh gosh, this is so much to calculate. Queen there, knight there. Yeah, I don't think we take this bishop. It looks tempting. I don't think it's the way to go. And now they've blocked off this g5 square, so they can't actually hit this bishop either, which is quite cool. So they might be... Oh, actually, no, now, because the queen can take the pawn. No, but queen takes pawn d8. Oh, you just hang your queen. Fair enough. Thank you very kindly. I think they were going to try take this pawn. At which point, rook d8. I don't know. Rook d8. Queen takes. Rook d8. Queen goes somewhere. There. You could even try bishop takes, actually. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. We got let off super lucky there. That bishop sack, I always overlook those. I always overlook those. Anyway, we got higher accuracy. Somehow. 79.1 versus 74.8. 1900 versus 1650. Whatever. So this is a super interesting opening. Apparently, we just take the free pawn. So that's the gambit. Yeah, that is the gambit. We decide to play d4 anyway. d5. And then they gambit again. But it wants knight back to b6 first, so then the queen's discovered hitting the pawn as well. Makes a lot of sense. I was a bit worried about bishop takes f7, potentially. With these general ideas. But as we've seen before, king goes to g8, it's surprisingly safe. You've got a hard time getting this rook in the game, but once you do, the game's going to be over. Anywho, we took the pawn. This is actually winning for white, apparently. It's 1.5 for white, which is crazy. We go bishop to e7, which is 1.8. And at that point, you take the pawn then, because the queen comes in and you get the piece back. We overlooked that. But once we got castled, we're happy here. We're 1.1. We needed to play bishop to f5 earlier, which makes a lot of sense. Knight to f6 is good. Bishop to f5 is good as well. I was really happy with that. And then h6 is good. I wasn't thinking of queen f4. I was thinking of bishop f4. What about queen f4 then? Best move. Follow up. Bishop h7. And then you get this situation, which we wanted anyway. Okay. Rooks trade off, and yeah, we should have taken with the knight. I said that was the other option, but I was too cowardly to go for it. It's still fine. Bishop takes is a thing. Knight to e5 is the right idea, but we played the wrong thing, I think. Whoa, it wanted knight to e4. Wow. So I was right not to take the bishop. What happens if you take the bishop? It's still okay. It's still okay. Knight takes. And then knight to e4. So what's this whole wow, what's this whole knight to e4 idea? That's wild. Knight to a why are you moving the queen? What? I'm so confused. Why are you not just moving your bishop? Well, firstly, your bishop's a bit trapped, so it has to go back to c1. And then you just take the free bishop. Okay, so you go queen to f4 to hit the bishop then. Makes sense. Then they take, knight takes, and then queen. So if you decide to take the bishop instead, then g6, and you're getting kicked around some more, everything's still covered. Okay. Wow, that's crazy complicated. Queen b6. Then you fork in a bit. You're still hanging the bishop, so you can't take the knight. Although you just go for it anyway. And then that's wild as well. So your rook's still... You're playing without a piece, basically. But so are they, I guess. I was thinking, what about like some rook e1 here? Then d3. Oh, and your threat is actually the passed pawn and not anything else. Fair enough. Queen f4. I think they can just take the pawn here. So this is winning for white, but they played the wrong thing. They needed to just take the pawn. That was it. Yeah. You take the pawn, probably a rook d8. It's saying knight h7 to hit the bishop, I guess. Okay. Rook d8. Queen takes a7, and you just try to gobble up some pawns, I guess. Queen e5. Looking for some threats on the king. Bishop takes. Yeah. And I can see this being better for white. Anyway, again, I had no clue what the opening was. No clue at all. With this bishop c4 line straight away. I get it. I mean, it's the all. That's the thing about the Italian game. It's all the same ideas, just in a different sort of order. This and the Scotch Gambit as well. I know they often are very similar. So it's all the same ideas. And once you know the tricks, which I'm still learning because I am still new to the Italian game. Once you know the tricks, it gets easier to thwart them, I guess is the word. I'm not quite sure. But you know that is very, very similar to each other. So I think when we just start to play it a bit more, especially in over the board games and competitive, like more competitive things, I'll get a lot more used to it. I think as well, because it's online, people are more okay to go for these crazy lines, which you wouldn't necessarily see over the board. Anyway, yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.